The name is Dale. I'm here to do the review of SHOWBIZ A.G. new album, Take It Back. SHOWBIZ A.G. have been out for a very long time. If you're not familiar with SHOWBIZ A.G., SHOWBIZ is the producer, A.G. is the MC, the rapper. And they've been out over 20 years each. And what's kind of odd about their music career, they haven't put out a lot of albums within that over 20-year span. Their first album, I believe, came out in 1992, Runaway Slave. And I believe together they've only put out like 5 albums. A.G. put out a solo album that I know of, one solo album that I know of, called Dirty Version, which was pretty solid, where he had other producers come in and make the beats. And he also did a whole album with OC called Oasis, but they haven't put out a lot of material. And SHOWBIZ A.G., they are part of this collective group of producers and rappers called d.i.t.c. d.i.t.c. stands for Digging in the Crates. And if you're not familiar with that term, back in the days, DJs used to carry their records in crates. This is before Serato and iPods and before phones could hold all this music. They used to have to carry their albums to the parties they DJ'd with crates. And producers used that term when it came to beat making. They would dig for old records from the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s to produce their albums. They produce their albums and make their beats, which you can see I have records here. d.i.t.c. is one of the crews that made me want to start making beats. Because back then, a lot of people in the 80s, a lot of people used James Brown records. So when the 90s came, producers want to get away from using all them James Brown samples because they've been used so much. So pretty much the go-to albums back then to sample was James Brown albums and Parliament. So Digging in Crates is also a term for finding rare, obscure samples and sounds to make beats from. And Digging in the Crate are a collective, like I said, of rappers and producers. You have Lord Finesse, who's a rapper slash producer, but he's more of a rapper. You have Diamond D, who's a producer slash rapper. Lord Finesse had a few solo albums in the 90s. Diamond D has made a few albums over the last 2 or 3 decades. You also have Fat Joe. This is before Fat Joe was famous and blew up. He started with Digging in the Crates. And if you was to tell me back then when d.i.t.c. first started that Fat Joe would be the most successful person in the group, I would have thought you was crazy. But that's how it happened. And he's still part of the crew. They came out with an album last year, late last year, Digging in the Crates, d.i.t.c. called Sessions, which is pretty good, which I highly recommend. Go find that. You also have Buck Wild, who's a producer. He's in Digging in the Crates. You have OC the rapper. You have Big L, who was with Digging in the Crates before his untimely death. And if you're not familiar with Big L, he was a monster on the mic. Google him, search out his music. He made some good music before he died. So this is where SHOWBIZ A.G. got their start from. This is the crew they came up with in the 90s, and they still going on strong. And what I like about this new album from SHOWBIZ A.G., Take It Back, is an underground boom bap sound, but it sounds more polished. It's more crisp and clean than your typical underground boom bap sounding out. You had a few albums that came out this year with that sound, like KRS-One dropped a new album this year, but this album sounds a little more polished. Clarity is a little more crisp than KRS-One production. You also have another album from a younger New York artist named Your Old Drew that I reviewed earlier this year. He has a New York underground boom bap 90s now sound, and even his quality does not compare to this. So they might be onto something where they can bring back that boom bap New York sound without it sounding all dirty and having the static and sounding very analog. This sounds very digital. Another thing I find odd about SHOWBIZ's career in particular, he didn't really do a lot of production outside of Digging in the Crates or his group. Whereas you have other members of d.i.t.c. like Diamond D, who did a lot of remixes for people, artists outside of Digging in the Crates in the 90s. He's done production all through now for different folks. So, you know, he did remixes for Outkast in the 90s. He did production on the Alcoholics album. You got Buck Wild, who's done production for several artists outside of the crew, such as Brand Nubians. Even Lord Finesse, who's more of a rapper, did production on Biggie's first album. But KRS-One is the only person that I know of that SHOWBIZ has worked with outside of Digging in the Crates. He's the one that actually made the beat for Sound of the Police. And as talented as he is as a producer, I'm just surprised he didn't do more production outside of Digging in the Crates. Maybe that was his choice. Maybe he's very particular in that way. There's only a certain few artists he wants to work with, that he's familiar with, that he knows of, that he wants to work with. So they haven't put out a lot of material as long as they've been out. So let's get into the review of this album, SHOWBIZ A.G. Take It Back. I'm going to go into some of the standout songs. There are a few songs I didn't like, but we're not going to talk about those. I'm going to go into the standout songs. And the first actual song is Take It Back. This is a song, it's smooth, it's bringing the golden age into this digital era. There's no hook, I'm digging the lyrics, and it's a great way to actually start off the album. The actual first track is an intro with DJ Premier doing talking. So it's not really a song. This is the first song, actual song to start off the album. Then you have another song called Dirty Red, one of my favorites on the album. Good storytelling, is relating the church and how they taking people's money to the street hustle. And I love how he's blending in the drug aspect on the streets to how some churches, you know, kind of pimp their congregation and take all their money. So I love that song. You got In and Out featuring A Bless and OC, braggadocious raps. All three of them do their thing. You got a song called The Answer where AG gets a little deep, talking about life and love. You got Always Sound Hungry featuring A Bless. Head Nod Music, I'm digging the lyrics. You got Breathe Easy, raw raps, no hook. That underground New York rap that you love. Can't Wait, deep thought music. You got Jumping Off the Roof. Head Nod Music, underground rap, braggadocious. You got Rise, which is he dropping some street knowledge. It's about, you know, the country we live in and all the, you know, fucked up shit that's going on. And it's been going on for years. So he gets deep on that joint. And I really dig this album. I give it a B+. They really didn't do a lot of promoting. I really didn't know they even dropped the album until one of my people's, DJ Chop the Butcher, told me so. And even after the fact, I had a hard time finding the joint. So I just wish more people would be able to hear this, but they won't because they just threw it out there. But it's consistent. Like I said, I really dig the sound and I give it a B+. So if you watching this review, give it a chance. I'm sure you'll like it. If you're into mumble rap or that half that shit or most of that shit they playing on the radio now, you're not gonna like this. But if you want to hear some music where it sounds like somebody put some thought into their lyrics, you can understand what they're saying, the production doesn't sound redundant, you know, it doesn't repeat itself, then go get this joint.